Hello, wizards, witches, and everyone in between. My name is Emma, and welcome to week 3 of the Biblio Games. Alright, so the first book that I'm going to pick up this week, this is going to be one of my physical reads, is We Hunt the Flame, and this is the Page Dwellers Book Club pick for June. I am very excited to read this. I think I've mentioned before because I was supposed to read it last week and I didn't, but I really don't know what this is about, but I'm excited and I will be annotating this. So the audiobook that I know for sure that I can get to this week as well is Forever. This is the third and final book in the, what is it called? Wolves of Mercy Falls? As you know, I think I read Shiver last month, and then I read Linger 2 weeks ago. I want to read the last book while the series is fairly fresh in my head, and I love it. Okay, the second audiobook that if I finish Forever with enough time, I will read this one or listen to this one next, and that is Atonement by Ian McEwan. Both my parents, but my mom especially, Ian McEwan is one of her favorite authors, and I have never read anything by him. I have a lot of people telling me that it's good and that I will like it. I honestly do not know what this is about, and I kind of want to keep it that way, but I do know that it was made into a movie that was supposedly good as well. So I'll probably watch that after I read this. And my other book that I will physically read if I have the time towards the end of this week is Bel Canto by Ann Patchett. I've talked about this before on my channel. I still haven't read it. This is about people at a party and they get taken hostage. And I think most of the book is set like in real time during the hostage situation. And it's very like character driven and it's supposed to be really good. For the adult fiction that I have read, it's very surprising that I have not read anything by Ann Patchett, and also surprising that I haven't read anything by Ian McEwan. So I'm very excited to get to this, because if I like Ann Patchett's writing, there are like 10,000 books that I have heard of that I want to read after this one. This was loaned to me by my parents as well. They are both huge Ann Patchett fans, so I'm excited. I realized this month, I think just the way that the challenges for the Biblio Games were worded, for some reason it was just easier to find books that fit that were all young adult. So this month, aside from Inside the O'Briens, everything I have been reading is young adult, and I typically like to keep it more like half and half in terms of young adult and adult fiction. So I'm really hoping to get to this in Atonement this week to kind of break up the young adult thing. Spice things up a little bit, you know? All right, that's what's going on this week. I will check back in with you tonight when I start reading We Hunt the Flame. Everyone, say hello to my weird bun. This is what we're working with right now. I really didn't get anything accomplished today that I set out to do. It was one of those days where I literally did everything else other than what I woke up being like, this is what you're doing today. So it was still a productive day, just in a different way, but it led me to having lots of time to do things while listening to this audiobook. So we did it. Forever by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm so glad I read this series. Would I have liked it more when I was 14, yes. I should have read it when it came out. It came out, well, the third book was published in 2011. I would have been the perfect age for this. But here we are, it's fine. I thought it was a good ending. It wrapped up all the storylines. It introduced some new characters, like really minor characters, but they were really, really cool. If you haven't read anything by Maggie Stiefvater, I would recommend reading something by her. I think most notably nowadays, her series, The Raven Cycle, is everywhere. I have not read it, although I am reading the first book in that series next week. But yeah, just like in general, pick up something by her because her writing is really, really good. My camera's tripod is currently balanced on We Hunt the Flame, so I cannot show it to you, but y'all know what it looks like. I'm on page 50. I don't dislike it, but I'm also not like, oh my god, I can't wait to read We Hunt the Flame. I found the first like 20 pages to be incredibly confusing because there is no pronunciation guide or like glossary, dictionary kind of thing. I found one that the author had linked on her Goodreads page. Would have been helpful to have that. In the book, it just drops you in there and I'm like, who's this? What does this mean? How do you pronounce this? So far, it just feels very slow. I read a couple reviews that said like 150 pages in is when it started picking up. And I'm like, that's a long time. That's really far in. I personally would rather be reading something else right now, but I have to be reading this. So yeah, it's an interesting time. I think someone likes her tunnel. She was asleep in here. Oh my god. Hello everyone. Today is Wednesday and I thought I'd just do a quick little update on what's been happening in the books I'm reading. So that was like the weirdest way I could have possibly phrased that. So We Hunt the Flame. I'm on page 100. It is still really slow. I have a very hard time caring about the main guy character in this. The perspectives switch back and forth like every YA novel apparently that's ever existed between the main guy and the main girl. Nefira is pretty cool. She's a cool main character. Just not much has happened so far and I'm waiting to see like if what I read on Goodreads about it getting better like after page 150. I'm waiting to see if that's true. This book is about a girl named Nefira who is a hunter, but she goes out as she's a huntress, I guess, but she goes out and disguises herself as a guy and goes and hunts food for her family because her family has no money, they're starving, everyone's, not everyone in the whole area is poor and starving. Like the whole land used to have magic, but it doesn't anymore for a lot of complicated reasons, and so she gets asked to go on this quest to find this thing in this scary land because it will bring back magic. So that's a really bad plot summary for you. The amount of places and extraneous people who are name dropped in here is truly overwhelming and very confusing. And the lack of a glossary, a dictionary, please, 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 please. This book has so many words that I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know what they mean. Let's get a definition, shall we? Why isn't that in the book? That is so confusing, and half the time I can't even use context clues to figure out what they mean because there's like 3 words like that in one sentence. So I'm like, I have no idea what this sentence means. So got a little salty there for a second, but yeah, it's okay. It's like a 2.5 right now. The next book that I started listening to because I finished Forever is Atonement by Ian McEwan. I'm on page 179, according to where I left off with the audiobook, which is basically halfway through. And it's a good time. So you got England, 1935. This family has this huge estate and a bunch of kids, and they're just kind of living their lives. At first, the youngest daughter, Bryony, I really, really liked her because her chapters, like, it's all in third person, but like certain chapters focus on specific characters. She reminded me of myself when I was like probably 8. I think she's 13, but when I was like 8, she is all about writing, and she's all about writing plays and like forcing people to watch them. So that was really cool, but then it got a lot more serious of like the relationship between her and her oldest sister, Cecilia. Cecilia is basically like feeling pressured to like settle down. I think she's in her 20s. She's very like daydreamy, and I really like her as a character. And so shit goes down. So at least right now, halfway through, the main plot of this is that Cecilia hooks up with someone who is a servant boy, basically, which obviously, like, that's not good. Bryony sees them and misinterprets it. And from the beginning, the servant guy had written kind of this, like, X-rated letter to Cecilia, and Bryony accidentally saw it. And then she sees them together, and she basically like thinks he's the worst person ever. He's like a pervert. She doesn't understand. She's very naive. She doesn't understand what's going on, but she like misinterprets it, right? Like he was hurting her sister in some way or something. So basically, the plot, because that all happens pretty early, the plot is that this like 13-year-old girl, Bryony, is literally misinterpreting all these things and spreading all these rumors that she feels are true, and she goes and tells all these people, and of course all these people believe her because they don't really know that guy that well. He's a servant boy, right? Like the whole classist thing. So he probably is a bad person, right? And so that's kind of where we're at now, and I think that's like the general, overarching plot of this book, which I didn't know about until I had read it. So now you guys know. I'm really glad I picked this up. It's just a nice break between all this young adult stuff I've been reading. So anyway, that's the story. I need to go eat lunch. I'm hungry. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Hello, the time has come again for my little reading vlog wrap up. So these are the books that I read this week. Let me just briefly go through them. I finished Forever by Maggie Stiefvater. I listened to this. I listened to the whole series. It's a good werewolf time. I've talked about it a lot, so you get it, but I would definitely recommend reading that. Then I binge read this book, stayed up late last night, and woke up early this morning to finish it before the live show, and then the live show got rescheduled. So love that for me. So that is We Hunt the Flame. I gave this a 3-star. It wasn't that good. There were parts that I really liked, and I'll get more into it like in my wrap-up video at the end of the month, but there were parts that I liked, aspects of it that I liked, but the plot was so slow. The pacing was so slow. I don't know, parts of it were extremely predictable, and it was one of those ones where like people are related to people just like too much, where it's like, that's convenient. It felt unnecessarily complicated, and I don't know. I don't think I'm interested enough to keep reading the series. I did I annotated like the first third because I literally read the last 2/3 in the last 24 hours. I did have a couple things I liked. These pink ones were like good feminist times, but the orange ones were just weird sections of info dumping that I didn't see the point of that. I think I'm very tired of reading fantasy right now. And the last book I read this week, I actually just finished this right now, and that is Atonement by Ian McEwan. I already talked about what this was about. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think the only thing that brought it down for me was they had a whole like section on this guy in like during the war, and I don't know. I wasn't interested enough, like in him enough as a character, that I kind of got bored during that section, and it was a fairly long chunk of the book. But the other parts were great, and I really liked the way that it ended. The title makes so much sense, and it's cool because it kind of it was like a critique on authors and how authors shouldn't pretend to atone for things in their writing because they play God and they can do whatever they want with the story. And that probably doesn't make any sense since you haven't read it, but it was very good. Atonement, that's like the perfect word for this book. It just applies in so many different ways, and it was really, really good. Alright, you guys, those are the books that I read this week. I hope you all had a great reading week. Be sure to enter my giveaway. I will leave the link for the video down below, and it will also be in my little end screen thing. But yeah, be sure to enter that, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!